All right, I'm gonna lay out the basic shape of the building so that I can start to lay out where each of the piers, the water line and sewer line go. The tool selection's pretty simple. Some mason twine, small hammer, some marking paint just to mark stuff. 4 stakes, so I just chopped up some bars that I had laying around that went to a old weight machine. Not real complicated. The most important part is the detailed drawings. So for me, I laid everything out so that I know all of my distances and my angles, because the way I'm doing it's probably slightly different. My original plan was to show 3 or 4 different ways to do this, but to record and edit, it would take longer to show 3 or 4 different ways than it would to lay everything out and move on to the next step. So I'm going to show the basic way I do it, and then I'll show a way with a transit since I actually have a transit. It's another easy one-person way. I know that I want one edge of it to go down this straight line here. Where exactly it is, it's up to me. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to run one line all the way down through here. The entire length of the structure, well, the entire length of the foundation, plus 2 feet on either end to give me setbacks so that I can work around the ropes and the wires, all that fun stuff, is, let me see, it's almost 36, but it's not, 35, 11.5 inches. So I will run a rope down through here a little longer than 35, 11.5. And the reason being is the first set of mason twine or string lines or whatever it's technically called is just to get me close. The ground's not level, so if you measure straight lines on an unlevel ground, you actually add distance in the flat plane. So all I'm doing now is giving me the basic layout of the 4 corners, and then I will come back and lay out better, more precise lines afterwards. But this gives me the, hey, you're about here to start with. So the first thing to do will just be as simple as put a grading stake in this corner. Well, I don't have grading, I do, but I don't have enough grading stakes. So if you have the convenience of having grading stakes, a whole bunch of solid metal bars with holes drilled through it so you can put your bolts or screw to it or whatever else, then you probably don't need this video anyway. But right now, just some scrap metal, pieces of rebar, conduit, something to bang in the ground will work. Wood, as long as you can get your corners, you're fine. Okay, so we're going to start by laying this out. I know that I have 2 foot built in to come off this bank 2 feet, roughly that. And I want to be a little further in, so I'm going to start, say, in here. I know that I want the front of my porch to be to this side of the tree, so that's a good spot for the first line. That's a good spot for the edge of the porch, so I can back up a little bit and drive a stake. Most of this will be boring. Since this isn't precise here, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to hit a rock and I'm going to hit a root. I guarantee one of the two. Rock. Something that won't drive through. That is a major problem in this area. There is no good point to go into the ground. It's still looser than I'd like it to be. I'd like it to be really tight. But that's going to be a problem here no matter what I do. So, another important tool I forgot. Tape measure, long distance tape measure. So, about 36 feet. I don't need that yet. There's a lot of abouts in this first bit because everything is just getting started. It's getting the basic layout. Get an angle you're good with, about that far off the trees. Kick a spot in the dirt, call it good. So that is your reference line. Everything else goes off of this. So I looked it up. It's not a crow's foot. It's not a lark's head. It's basically a goofy clove hitch is what I was looking for. But anyway, if you do it, I can't do it again, whatever. It's a self-binding knot. I used to do it all the time with my eyes closed. Okay, I got it. Look it up yourself. If you tie it one way, it will untie. If you tie it the other way, like I just did wrong, put it over the pole, it will untie. I want the rope on the outside. There's a lot of ways to do this. Of course, I'm complicating the hell out of it. Something simple. So the problem with the round pole is it's hard to get the rope exactly on the outside. If you had a square post or a 2x4 or something, it's a lot easier to get it to stay perfectly on the outside. And it doesn't matter for this, but it matters more. It doesn't really matter for me at all. As long as my piers are near where my piers need to be, that's all I care about. I have plenty of play in this. I can scoot forward, backwards, left, right, enough that it doesn't much matter. So I'm overcomplicating it just for the sake of teaching, which is really overcomplicating it just for the hell of it. Now later, this will all need to be level. If this isn't level, it'll throw things off. But for now, close enough is close enough. So I now know that I want to go 16 feet, 5.5 inches. Now this isn't where this other pole is going. I'm saying this just getting me in the area. I'll show you a way to square the two lines in a minute. So I have some marking paint. I'm just gonna put a simple dot on the ground. Eyeball wise, here is probably more square. But that's typical. If I had everything I needed when I started, we'd already be done. So, based on the paper, you know that you need one piece of rope that is 16, 5.5, and you need another piece of rope that is 18, 3 9/16. And then the gap from there to there is 8 feet. I'll put it up on the screen so you see what I'm saying. So I will measure out. I say measure, it's actually measure. Someone will give me hell about it. Actually, I'm gonna get a more precise tape than this. With a tape that actually has any kind of accuracy, I need to be 16, 5.5, or thereabout. I'm saying this is not exactly. People will be like, well, you know, the tip of your marker is about 1/8 of an inch. Well, when it bleeds, it's probably closer to 1/4 of an inch. So, you know, it's all relative. It'll get me close enough. How close do you really need to be? This is not real good for a tape measure. 16, 5.5. So I'm gonna put a mark on the line where that needs to be. Now the trick will be finding that in the future. And yes, it bled out. It's extra fat. Now, this one is gonna be a pain in the 18.3 and 19.30 seconds. Well, tape measure doesn't even read in 30 seconds. So, eight sixteenths, 5/8, whatever you want, somewhere in there. You can get fancy and try to skip the gaps, but I'm saying it doesn't really matter. It's probably been a whole lot easier if I did this on the porch or somewhere ahead of time. Eighteen, 3, 1, 2, 3. Close enough. Watch this. It's going to explode again. So now we know 3 points of a triangle. And we know that this needs to be 8 feet. Of course, I didn't grab a magnetic tape measure either, because that'd have been easy. Just grabbed a random one, but not the easy one. You don't want to fool your line very much. Now, if this end and I'm using these little paper clippy things, is black mark to black mark, pinch. If you pull real hard, you'll pull it loose. So don't pull real hard. Damn it. If you left yourself enough room to wrap that around. And then this end goes here. It's a lot easier with a transit. Just cheat and use a transit. Then, when I go this way, I have, come on, get off that damn string, a black mark to tell me where the corner of the triangle is. And if everything is tight, the corner of the triangle, oh, I was off. I have the mark there. It should be about here. Now, is this perfectly precise? No. Is it pretty close? Pretty damn. Good enough. If you brought the post with you and a damn hammer the first time, you wouldn't have to come back. So, the outside edge on the corner of this tube, eyeball it relatively level or plumb, is, if I go that way, I'm trying to make sure I'm not pulling the cord. About here. And I'm saying about because that's all you need. All right, now you take this to go to the other end, you do the same thing. Okay, so this is pulled taut, but not too tight. Should be about there. Now you can string your other line, and then your rope tangles. So basically building anything by yourself is far more complex than it should be. One simple hand would be, infinitely helpful. But that pole is loose. Like loose, wobbles around. And that far, 2 foot out of the ground, makes it move an inch or two. And for any of you all that thought Boy Scouts was useless, I wish I'd have paid more attention. The kid that works with me is an Eagle Scout. I could be like, hey, Austin, tie a non-binding knot down there. But I want it to make friction and stick to the pole. Okay, there's 2 lines. And as you can see, probably from the hill, they are not at all at the same height. This one drops as it goes. So the difference between this corner and this corner is feet. A foot maybe. So this one goes this way. That one is pretty level. That one goes that way, which makes that far corner and that far corner even worse. So if you were to actually measure the distance between them, that distance would be greater than this distance because of the drop or rise in elevation, which is why they need to be plumb or level. They all need to be level with each other. Your poles need to be plumb, and then they need to be level. So that gets you a start of kind of the outline of the building. Okay, now I spent all the time doing that, and I could have just gone and got a transit. So I went and got the transit because, well, that's what I have. So if you happen to have a transit, I probably also don't need to explain how to use it. You plumb the center to the top of the pole, you level everything, and you zero it in on, in my case, this is 90, that's 0. You could use 90, 180, 360, whatever you want. Well, not 360, 270. But, so this is 90. The only problem with the transit is this one's magnification is huge. Like, I don't know why they have like 20x, but, so it's level. You need something as high as you are. I could have taken it way down here, but I didn't want to be laying on the ground. Like, I could have been 3-4 inches lower. Well, actually, I probably can't because my legs don't go down. But anyway, so you look through it, there's a line in it, and that is 90 to the dead center of the shovel down there. You turn it to 90 degrees from your original line. And then you can sight that pole. And you would sight that pole by sticking another pole in the ground and moving it around. Well, with a 20x view, I can see the woods. I can see the fence line 1/8 of a mile away, but I have trouble seeing something 20 some feet away. Even cranked down to the tightest view, it's hard. So I am, oh no, I am not. Oh, I wasn't zeroed. I wasn't on 0. So there's a fine tune knob. Boy, I might be 1/2 degree off of 90. So the ropes work well. It just takes longer. It's a little, for me, it's a little more complex. When I could have just run this line, dropped the transit, turned it 90 degrees and stuck a pole until I moved the pole left and right, it would have been easier. So I'm gonna use a transit to set out the rest. But this is my, I'll string a string from here to there, there to there. I'll go check that corner just for the hell of it, but it should be also close to 90. So I'll string a string and that'll give me the basic square, even though the lines are out of whack. And then I will put in permanent pieces. So I will measure my 2 feet, and that will give me the corner. 2 foot and 2 foot will give me the corner of this first post. So I'll actually go 2 foot down that line, 2 foot down that line, and where the two cross, that should be the corner of this post. And then I'll make a mark going down that line. Well, actually down the next line, and I'll make it in red so that it doesn't conflict with my black. Then I'll go 66 inches, 30 inches, 94, 94, 99 and a half, because that is front edge to back edge, so it's longer. And I'll do the same going across, 72 over and 77 and a half over to the end. And so I'll have 3 stakes here, 6 stakes there and there, 3 there. And once again, I'll cheat. Instead of using so you could do the string line, and there's a little string level. You can hang on the line and fudge the end up, fudge the end down until your little level is floating on the line is level. I have a grading system. I'll just use the grading. It's cheating, but it's what I got, and it takes longer to show than it does to do. So once again, I'm showing you with what I've got. You could, so I'm gonna take the lowest point, which is obviously that corner back there. You wanna use a grading level, and I'm gonna go back here and be like, okay, it is this far below the bottom of this, and then I'll come around and drop them all. If you didn't have a grading level, and if the other thing is, if I'm showing you with this, and you already have one, odds are, you don't need me telling you how to use it. You can do this, but it is, I guess, useful maybe to somebody. I don't know. You could do it with a string line. You can put a string level on, go to the middle, say that end needs to go down or that end needs to go up, and do it until you got them relatively level. Tighten up the one down here that's sagging. And I should have square and level lines. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see that from the camera, but that's floppy. Now you don't want so much tension that you're pulling on your posts. But you want enough, especially if you're using it for height. Good. Now, you can use boards to do batter boards, which is nail 2 boards in the ground and a flat board across it, which I'd like to do, but I'd never get a board in the ground here, and I don't have enough grade stakes. You can support them left to right. See that one, I would call that too floppy. It needs more tension than that. That's sagging. Pretty good. All right, good enough. Now I can clean all this up because I don't need it anymore. Well, I don't need to keep it out at least. I went ahead and drove all the little stakes all around the edge. Used a magnetic tape measure to go from one to the next and check my lines. So if you look down through here, you'll see they're not exactly straight. Some of them are off at the top, they lean, they bend, and what happens is you hit roots and rocks because, well, that's just what happens here. So they are only right at the line. So wherever the line is, I put a mark. And as long as they are on that plane, they are all correct. If they're off at the top, they lean forward, backward, left, right, it doesn't matter. All I'm concerned about is that corner. And as you can see, there's a rock. First one I hit, a root the size of my wrist, and then that big rock. Next one, big rock. Next one, I think it actually went in. But you get the point. This corner, and this corner. Well, that corner. So those are all I really care about. I'll mark those out and then I'll move up to the next one and I'll do the same and so on and so forth. And the reason I don't mark them all out at once is I have to dig with the backhoe. So I want to work my way either from the other end this way or this end that way. I'm going to go from this end that way because it's easier for me to get in and out over there. I will dig these, I will set these three, and I will move on to the next. But I have to put in a water and sewer line. It's going to be somewhere up near the tractor, but in that corner, and it's going to come down between these two lines. Can you see that one and that one? Between them so that I'm between the posts. And then it's going to go out behind me for the sewer, and then the water is going to run up on the hill to that little, call it a well house or whatever. It's really just a pressure regulator cutoff. I have to dig those two trenches before because I really don't want to be trying to dig between each of the piers after it's in and risk hitting one. So that will get dug, then buried, and then I will be able to dig these. And that's it. It's pretty much laid out.